Welcome aboard. Welcome to another tour. Today, we are at the East Troy Municipal Airport in Wisconsin. We are here to find the location of musician Stevie Ray Vaughan's last performance, and it's the location of the crash that took his life along with 4 others. If you're new to Dude Tours, what we do is we find interesting locations here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. We talk about the event and we find the location. We're not trying to recreate the actual flight or actual event. It's a tour. Today, we fly the Bell 206B JetRanger helicopter. The creators of this sim aircraft say it's modeled after a 206B3. Let's get the helicopter started so we can start our tour. The Bell 206B JetRanger helicopter is an iconic aircraft known for its versatility and widespread use in various industries. However, it gained infamy due to the tragic event that occurred on August 27, 1990. It was the aircraft involved in the crash that claimed the life of legendary guitarist Stevie Ray Vaughan. The Bell 206B is manufactured by Bell Helicopter. It's a light single-engine helicopter that first entered service in the early 1970s. With its compact size, seating capacity for 4 to 5 people, and an impressive performance, it quickly became a popular choice for a wide range of applications. Powered by an Allison 250 C20 turboshaft engine, the Bell 206B has a maximum speed of approximately 120 knots, 138 miles per hour, in a range of around 375 nautical miles, or 432 miles. It features a 2-bladed main rotor and a 2-bladed tail rotor, providing excellent maneuverability and stability in flight. A look at the flight plan today. We will be heading south from this airport to the Alpine Valley Music Theater, where Stevie Ray Vaughan played his last show. We are on our way to the Alpine Valley Music Theater, which is located not too far from the Alpine Valley Resort. The Alpine Valley Music Theater in East Troy, Wisconsin is an iconic outdoor amphitheater renowned for its rich history of hosting unforgettable live music performances since its opening in 1977. Stevie Ray Vaughan, a white kid from Texas, defied the odds to become a true blues guitar legend. Stephen Ray Vaughan was born on October 3, 1954 in Dallas, Texas, to Jimmy Big Jim Lee Vaughan and his mother, Martha Jean. He had one brother, Jimmy, who was born in 1951. One of the most iconic sibling collaborations that existed in music was that of Jimmy and Stevie Vaughan, 2 guitar virtuosos who shared the passion for the music of the blues, and it forged an unbreakable bond between them.
Just like normal brothers.
At an early age, the Vaughan brothers moved around a lot. Because of Big Jim's work, the family lived in more than 30 different towns. Eventually, they would settle down in Dallas. This rough upbringing may have helped forge the bond between each other and their bond with music. When Jimmy was 12 years old, he was given his first guitar. In spite of Jimmy instructing Stevie Ray to never touch his guitar, Stevie played it any time Jimmy put it down. The brothers taught themselves how to play by listening to records and working out the guitar parts. From those early years growing up in Texas, Jimmy Vaughan became an unintentional mentor to his younger brother Stevie Ray. With an insatiable appetite for blues records, the older Vaughan brother exposed Stevie Ray to the rich sounds of blues legends such as B.B. King, Albert King, Otis Rush, and Buddy Guy. Come on over. We are departing the East Troy Municipal Airport and we will be heading towards the Alpine Valley Music Theater. These musical introductions formed the foundation of Stevie Ray's identity, helping him cultivate a profound understanding of the blues genre. By the mid-1960s, Jimmy was the lead guitarist for a band called the Chessmen, even though he was only a teenager at the time. They were one of the most popular bands in the area around Dallas and recorded for Bismarck Records. With relentless passion and unwavering dedication, Stevie Ray honed his craft, spending hour after hour in his room working out blues solos. By the age of 12, he was performing in local clubs and bars, captivating audiences with his electrifying guitar skills and soulful voice. While still in high school, he joined Jimi's band, Texas Blues Band, also known as Texas Storm, that Jimi formed in Dallas in 1969. Following that stint, he formed his own band named Blackbird. In early 1971, Jimi and his band moved to Austin, Texas to try their luck there, where there was a vibrant and somewhat rough blues scene. Not long after that, Stevie quit high school and followed his brother Jimi to Austin. Stevie thrived musically in that blues environment, but it was still a real struggle to gain any success. 5 years, multiple bands, and broke, Stevie was truly playing and living the blues. By 1975, Jimi was in a band, the Fabulous Thunderbirds, and they were realizing some local success. Stevie Ray Vaughan's true musical journey began soon after that. In September 1977, Stevie Ray formed a group with several musicians from the Austin music scene, including singer Luann Barton, bassist W.C. Clark, keyboardist Mike Kindred, drummer Freddie Pharaoh Walden, and saxophone player Johnny Reno. They called themselves Triple Threat Review, but by May of 1978, W.C. Clark and Mike Kindred had left the group. Stevie would then change the name to Double Trouble after an Otis Rush song of the same name. When W.C. Clark had left to form his own band, Luann Barton, the singer for Double Trouble, auditioned and hired Jackie Newhouse, and Freddie Waldron was replaced by Jack Moore. During the next year and a half, the group gained popularity by performing in Texas clubs such as Fitzgerald's and Clubfoot. Double Trouble earned a frequent residency performing at one of Austin's most popular night spots, the Rome Inn. From 1978 to 1980, the Rome Inn had the hottest blues scene in town. Stevie Vaughan and Luann Barton's played every Sunday, and Paul Ray's Cobras had Tuesdays, and Monday night was Blues Monday with the Fabulous Thunderbirds. It was an Italian restaurant originally, built in the former Shipwash grocery building. Then the Rome started having live music in the mid-1970s. It was during this time, playing at the Rome Inn, he married his wife Lenora Darlene Bailey, also known as Lenny. After only 3 months, Jack moved back to Providence, Rhode Island to finish college and was replaced by Chris Layton. When Luann Barton and Johnny Reno both decided to leave the band in 1979, the group morphed into a power trio and Stevie became the lead vocalist, and their name was changed to Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. In 1980, during one of the band's frequent appearances at Rockefeller's in Houston, Stevie jammed with Tommy Shannon, who Stevie had known from his days in the band Crackerjack. Tommy was interested in joining Double Trouble, and he was hired in January of 1981. The new version of Stevie's band was with Stevie out front and Tommy Shannon on bass and Chris Layton on drums. We are approaching the Alpine Valley Music Theater. It's ahead of us on the left. During one of these performances, Edie Johnson, an accountant, saw Double Trouble. Edie Johnson was the bookkeeper at the Manor Downs horse track outside of Austin, and after getting to know Stevie for most of a year, she asked her boss, Francis Carr, if she could offer some financial backing to Stevie. Manor Downs was a quarter-horse racing track in Austin. It was taken over by Sam Cutler and Francis in 1975. Sam Cutler was the former road manager of the Rolling Stones and was the Grateful Dead's booking agent and road manager from 1970 through 1973. Chesley Milliken, who had been the general manager of Epic Records in Europe, was also a close friend with the Grateful Dead and was another friend and the racetrack's general manager. So these were the music industry connections Stevie needed. After 8 years of honing his craft and finding his own artistic voice, 1980 to 1981 would prove to be a pivotal year in Stevie's career. After years of toughing it out in low-end bars and clubs, couch surfing and riding in broken-down vans for weeks at a time with no place to call home and no money, the elements to Stevie's success began to fall into place. The group also hired Robert Cutter Brondeberg as road manager, whom Stevie had met back in 1969. It was Cutter who had addressed Stevie as Stevie Ray that convinced Stevie to use his middle name on stage. During the next year and a half, Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble gained popularity by performing in Texas clubs such as Fitzgerald's and Clubfoot. In March of 1982, music journalist turned music producer Jerry Wexler recommended Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble to perform at the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland. The band performed at the festival, and they were the first unsigned act to perform at the event. On the following night, Double Trouble was booked in the lounge of the Montreux Casino, and the musician Jackson Browne was in attendance. Jackson Browne jammed with Double Trouble until the early morning hours, and he offered them free use of his personal recording studio in downtown Los Angeles. In late November, the band accepted his offer and recorded 10 songs in 2 days. While they were in the studio, Stevie received a telephone call from David Bowie, who he had met after the performance in Switzerland, and he invited him to participate in a recording session for his next studio album, Let's Dance. In January 1983, Stevie recorded guitar on 6 of the album's 8 songs, including the title track, China Girl. The album was released on April 14, 1983, and sold over 3 times as many copies as David Bowie's previous album. The demos from the recording session in Los Angeles were sent to producer John Hammond. The album Texas Flood resulted, and John Hammond signed the band to Epic Records in March of 1983. The album Texas Flood peaked at number 38 on the Billboard 200 chart and initially sold over 500,000 copies. Double Trouble toured North America in the first half of 1983, followed by a European tour in August and September. On May 9th that year, the band performed at the Bottom Line in New York City, where they opened for Bryan Adams. Stevie's road manager described the performance as ungodly. I think Stevie played every lick as loud and as hard and with as much intensity as I've ever heard him. The performance earned Stevie Ray Vaughan a positive review published in the New York Post, asserting that Double Trouble outperformed Bryan Adams. The path was set for Double Trouble's success, and what would follow would be, in 1984, Stevie Ray Vaughan won his first Grammy Award for Best Contemporary Blues Recording. Stevie's follow-up albums, including Couldn't Stand the Weather in 1984 and Soul to Soul 1985, solidified his status as a leading figure in the blues and rock music worlds. His fiery guitar solos and heartfelt performances resonated with audiences worldwide. Stevie also collaborated with several legendary artists, including his participation in the in-session television performance with Albert King. Unfortunately, as Stevie Ray's popularity soared, so did his struggles. His career was not only defined by his exceptional guitar skills and musical prowess, but also marked by a battle with addiction and then a remarkable journey of recovery. Stevie's struggles with substance abuse were well documented, impacting both his personal life and his musical career. In 1986, his struggles culminated in a life-threatening medical emergency resulting from his abuse of alcohol and cocaine. Doctors told him he was only months away from dying. Stevie's recovery was a testament to his strength and determination. Embracing sobriety, he embarked on a path of self-discovery and growth, and this was reflected in his music, especially in his album In Step in 1989, that included themes of resilience and renewal. And during this time, he was also in a new relationship with Jonah Lapidus, a model from New Zealand. His recovery journey not only revitalized his career, but also served as an inspiration to countless fans who admired his ability to overcome adversity. His albums were The Texas Flood in 1983, Couldn't Stand the Weather 1984, Soul to Soul 1985, In Step 1989, and Family Style 1990. It was on August 27, 1990, Stevie Ray Vaughan had just concluded a performance here. The concert, which featured a lineup of renowned musicians, including Eric Clapton, Buddy Guy, and Robert Cray, was part of a tour known as the Eric Clapton's Crossroads Guitar Festival. Eric Clapton's Crossroads Guitar Festival is a legendary event that brings together some of the world's greatest guitarists for a celebration of music and guitar mastery. It was after that show, while the musicians were discussing an upcoming show, Eric Clapton's tour manager, Peter Jackson, said that the weather was getting worse and that they had to leave. After the concert had finished, 4 Bell JetRanger helicopters from Omni Flight were waiting on the golf course behind the theater to transport the band members to Chicago for their next show. Stevie was with his brother Jimmy Vaughan and Jimmy's wife Connie as they went aboard their helicopter, piloted by Jeff Brown. Peter Jackson had told Stevie that the seats were reserved for all 3 of them. However, they discovered that the seats had been taken by Clapton's agent Bobby Brooks, his bodyguard Nigel Brown, and assistant tour manager Colin Smith, with only 1 empty seat remaining. Stevie asked Jimmy and Connie if he could take the last seat, saying, "I really need to get back." And Jimmy and Connie agreed to catch a flight out of Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. We will be departing here from behind the theater. You'll note that there's a parking lot just ahead of us we'll be going over. Just make a note of that, and we'll talk a little bit about that parking lot later. Stevie Ray and the other 3 passengers departed aboard the 3rd helicopter, with pilot Jeff Brown at the controls. They departed in patchy fog at about 1 a.m. Central Time. Interestingly, of the 4 Omni flight pilots flying that night, Jeff was the only one not certified to fly a helicopter in instrument conditions, meaning that conditions had to be such that he could fly the aircraft using only what he could see. It was noted that Jeff took off from the golf course at a higher speed and slightly lower altitude than the others. The plan was to head towards Wisconsin Highway 120 and follow that south as a visual reference. The golf course sits in a little valley here with a ridge of hills that the helicopters had to clear before turning towards their destination. The plan was for each aircraft to take off in turn, climb out of the valley, and head for Chicago. All the aircraft were seen departing the golf course as planned, but the 3rd never arrived in Chicago. A search was initiated, and at 7 a.m. the wreckage was discovered strewn along a ski hill, about a half a mile from the golf course. The impact point was only 100 feet higher than the takeoff elevation and 50 feet below the summit of the 300-foot hill. The wreckage spread uphill towards the summit, indicating a high-speed impact, probably around 100 miles per hour. It's assumed that all on board were killed instantly. The bodies and debris were scattered over 200 feet on the side of the hill. Just below the top of the hill here is the crash site. The location was only about 50 feet from the top of this hill. Located not too far from the site on one of these ski slopes is a small metal memorial for Stevie Ray Vaughan. An investigation into the crash was conducted to determine the cause of the accident. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, examined various factors including weather conditions, the pilot's experience, and possible mechanical failures. The NTSB report concluded that the primary cause of the crash was the pilot's failure to maintain sufficient altitude and clearance over the slope due to the foggy conditions, leading to a controlled flight into terrain, CFIT. The news of Stevie Ray Vaughan's tragic death sent shockwaves throughout the music community and left fans around the world obviously grief-stricken. We are going to head now to a small airfield close to here located at the Grand Geneva Resort and Spa. This will allow us to fly along Highway 120 for a bit. This was supposed to be the visual guide after leaving the venue. The flight from the concert was heading to Chicago, and that is southeast from here. The funeral of Stevie Ray Vaughan was held on August 30th, 1990 in Dallas, Texas. It was an emotional and poignant event that honored the life and legacy of the guitar virtuoso. Friends and family and fellow musicians and legions of fans gathered to pay their final respect to the man whose music had touched their lives so deeply. The service took place at Laurel Land Memorial Park in Dallas, with eulogies delivered by close friends and family members who spoke of Stevie Ray's passion for music, his kindness, and his unwavering dedication to his craft. In an era dominated by synthesizers and pop ballads, Stevie Ray Vaughan had emerged as a beacon of authenticity, spearheading a revival of the blues genre. His guitar playing was a masterclass in technique, blending lightning-fast riffs with soulful bends and impeccable phrasing, shaping the sound of contemporary blues and rock. His final album was released 14 months after his death. This was The Sky is Crying 1991, featuring 10 previously unreleased tracks that were recorded between 1984 and 1989. As we fly here along Route 120, we will be at the resort soon where we are going to land. A possible scenario that might have contributed to the crash was discovered during an investigation performed by an aviation law firm during some legal proceedings surrounding the death of Bobby Brooks, Eric Clapton's manager. The expert pilot recreating the takeoff from the same location at the golf course discovered what might have been an issue for a non-instrument rated pilot that had to maintain visual reference during flight. He recorded, "Everything looked great until we got above the parking lot light poles. Then we were blind. Our eyes had become accustomed to the lights from the parking lot. Once we cleared them, the hills surrounding the golf course obscured the lights from anywhere else. It was like being in a dark hole. We had no visual reference of the horizon to tell us where the ground stopped and the sky began. and we instinctively transitioned to instrument flying. Seconds later, we topped the ridge of the hills and revealed the city lights beyond, blinking brightly along the route to Chicago and giving us a clear sense of what was up and what was down, but it all lasted just a few seconds. So he's describing the parking lot that we flew over just as we left the venue. So maybe it was the lights that caused the issue. I'm not sure how that lawsuit turned out. I know that Bell and Allison's legal teams were both involved in it as well. We are approaching the Grand Geneva Resort and Spa, and that will be our final destination today. Well, that was a little bit about Stevie Ray Vaughan and his last performance and tragic crash that took his life, as well as 3 others. And I hope you enjoyed today's tour. If you'd like to support the channel, it's really easy to do. Just reach down and hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And it lets YouTube know you like this kind of content. If you're already subscribed, I appreciate it. Well, we'll be on the ground soon, and we will take a look around the resort.